Today I'm working on my 2022 Lifan KPR 200. I'm going to be doing a complete oil change on it. I removed the side fairing off of it just so I could video it and you could see a little bit better what I'm doing. You don't have to take the side fairing off, but I did. So let's get started. This is a 17 millimeter for the drain plug. And I did warm the engine up a little bit. Okay. Then, after you drain the engine oil, while you're right here, this is a screen behind here. We take this out, clean it. And there's spring pressure against it, so makes it a little bit tricky whenever you have to go put it back in. And there's this cap, there's a spring, and then there's the little, probably aluminum or stainless steel, but probably aluminum screen that's in there you need to clean out. I've taken this out 2 or 3 times and there's never been anything in it, but I clean it anyway. So we'll take a little bit of brake clean. And we'll spray that out. And we'll take our spring, clean it up a little bit, wipe it all. And then the cap, clean it out real good. I want to be careful with the brake clean if you're cleaning out this cap, because there is an O-ring. Oh, it's still on here. There's an O-ring right here. And you don't want to get the brake clean on that O-ring. It probably won't hurt it, but just for safety's sake, you don't want to get it on there. So then put that O-ring back on after you get it clean. And then you can just stick a rag in there and clean out that hole a little bit. Okay, and then you take you a little bit of oil, make sure it's got oil on this little O-ring. And run some oil around it. And this is the hard part, so I wouldn't say it's hard, it's just this is the most difficult part of the whole process. Make sure your hand's clean so you'll be able to do this. Because if it's slick, it makes it a little bit more difficult. Okay. We'll take the cap with the spring and this cleaned off spring. And it goes in just like that. And then just set it in there. Now see, this is gonna be under spring pressure. So you gotta line this up and screw this in at the same time. And I'm just gonna tell you that whenever you go to do this, and you have the bearing on it, sometimes it's kind of difficult to get that lined up and start it. Because like I said, it's under spring pressure and you're turning against that. So if you want to take the fairing off to do this job, it's entirely up to you. It's not necessary. You might have to fight it a little bit to get this started, but just snug that down. And then on your drain plug, wipe it off. It's got a little magnetic drain plug on it. Now you can change this sealing washer. Let me go get my bag. I believe it's this one. Yep. I don't remember. I think that's a 12 millimeter, but let me take my caliper here. Let's just see. Yep. It's a 12 millimeter. So you need a 12 millimeter sealing washer in order to replace that washer. And then just screw it in and tighten it down. Okay, nothing to it. Now, I usually just take a little brake clean and just get the little residual oil off of it. Because here in a second we will start it and make sure it doesn't have any leaks. And we don't want any residual oil on it. Okay, well, that side's done. So let's move to the other side. Take the filter off. Just two 8 millimeter. Oh, I forgot to tell you the size of that big nut on the other side. That's a 15/16 is what I use. I think it's like a 23 or 24 millimeter. But I didn't have one big enough for that, so 15/16 fits just right. And you want to loosen these, and then while your bolts are still in it, just kind of wiggle it, and it'll come loose. It's got an O-ring in there that seals it. There you go. Now once you get it loose like that, then you can take the bolts the rest of the way out. And there's the filter. Okay, let me set that to the side. And we need to clean this all out. Take the brake clean. And like I said before, be careful with that O-ring. And you can reuse this O-ring. This is the original O-ring that came with the bike. I have never replaced it. But if yours starts to leak, or if you feel the desire to put a new one in, go ahead. But these O-rings should last a long time as long as you take care of it. Okay, then you can take your rag and wipe out the old oil that's in there. The one thing you want to do is make sure that you don't have any little fibers from, if you're using a rag or if you're using a, like this paper towel kind of thing. You want to make sure that there's nothing left in there, no little bits and pieces from it. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's all good and clean. So, in order to change this, you got to get the right size filter. And I use the Hi Flo oil filter. It's a HF112, HF112. I bought these on, I think on Amazon, a pack of 6 of them. It was like, I don't know, $20, $24, something like that. Okay, so then you just put that little rubber piece on there till it seals. And then you want the writing on this cap facing the way it was when you took it off, where you can read it. You know, you don't want it upside down because it does have a hole in it. And you want that hole to land in the right spot. So now take a little bit of the old oil and go around this, or you can take new oil, whichever you'd prefer, and go around this O-ring. Make sure it's lubricated. And then I take a little bit and just run it around in here. And that should be good enough. And you check to make sure your writing is correct. And then just stick it in there and push it in till you feel it go past the O-ring. And then start your bolts. Now, one thing I could tell you about this is be careful with the brake clean, because if you get it down here on this painted surface, if you could see on mine, it'll take off the paint in a heartbeat. I didn't even spray it on there. It was just residual that was on a rag, and I had wiped it off and just wiped the paint right off of it. So be careful of that. And run these down evenly. And then snug them down. Now you want to be careful with these, especially if you warmed your engine up to where it was warm, or if you're changing it where your engine oil is warm. I just started mine up and let it run for a little bit. This is early morning right now. I let it run for a little bit. It wasn't really what I would call hot or warm. It was just barely warm. So be careful of that, because you don't want to strip the threads out of your engine by getting it so tight, especially with the engine warm. There. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, the fill cap is right here. I'm going to take my plum, put it in there, and then I'm going to put the oil in, and you can watch it rise. Then I want to let you know about the oil real quick. This is what I use. It's like 2, 3, maybe even 4 different oils that I like to use. And I kind of experiment. I try them in my bike and see how it does with the shifting, because all the oils that I have that I use will be fine for lubrication of the engine. But the surefire way to tell if your oil is getting broke down, if it's not doing its job, is if your transmission's hard to shift. I'm gonna tell you right now, this oil works great with this bike. The shifting is so butter smooth. So I'll be using this oil for the life that I have with the bike. And I just want you to see here in the back where it does say that it's JSO MA and MA2 certified. So this is good oil for a motorcycle too, even though it's a diesel oil. But you can use whatever you want. Okay, I'm gonna set you up right there. And I believe it says that this takes like 1.3 liters of oil, which I looked it up. I think it's like 1.37 quarts, something like that. But just be careful, don't overfill it. If you do overfill it, which I have done that before because it's so little, quantity is so little, then just drop your drain plug and drain a little bit out. And it's not that big of a deal. But just pour a little bit in at a time. And keep watching your sight glass. Because once it starts to come up, it'll come up pretty quick. Okay, it's starting to come up pretty good now. And you want to fill it up to the high mark, which is right here, the line. And we're pretty close, we're still a little under. Okay, let that settle for just a minute. Looks like we need just a touch more. Okay, that looks like that's right on the line. All right. So, now that we got it full, I'll take that out. We'll put our cap back on. And we'll start it up, let the oil circulate a little bit. And while it's running, we'll check for leaks. This is the size I was telling you, is a 15/16. This is the size socket. 15/16. And it fits right on there perfect. Check the leaks here. Check the leaks all around there. And I think we're good. Okay, you're wanting to let that engine run long enough so that the oil gets filled into here and that oil filter gets saturated good. And you can watch the oil level rise back up a little bit. It takes a little bit for it to come back up. But what you have to do is you have to let it sit for a while, and you have to make sure that your oil level comes up pretty close to this line. You do not want to overfill it. You don't want it underfull, but you do not want to overfill it either. And the only way to tell for sure if you're right on that line, if you got the proper amount, is to let it sit for a long period of time. If you just fire this thing back up just like I did and then just let it sit for just a little bit and then you fill it up to this line, well, by morning your glass will probably be completely full. So you got to let it sit for a little bit. And then what I do is I'll top it back off and I'll leave it below the line. And then whenever I go to ride next, I'll check it and I'll make sure it's up to the line from sitting. And if it's not up to the line, I'll top it off a little bit more. Now see, it's not come up very much at all because it's saturated that filter in there. So we're gonna need a little bit more. So we'll put just a little bit more in there. Okay, I just put a little in there and see how quick that came up. I'll put just a little more. Now see, we're above the low mark, but we're just barely above it. We're going to give it just a whisker more, and that will be good. See, we're below the full line. We're above the low line. We're about right in the middle. Now what I'll do is I'll let it sit and let all the oil drain back down, and then I'll check it again and make sure that it's on the full line. If it's not, I'll top it off with just a little bit more. But you want it just on that full mark. You do not want to be over full on it. And we'll put our cap back on. And that'll do it. Now we just wait and make sure that the oil level's right. So, okay, there's nothing to it. That's all there is to it. So, hope this helps. Thanks for watching.